Right, let's talk about Neon White, shall we? Neon White's been out for a while. I didn't play it because, I'll be honest, I'm not really big on keeping up to date with my indie games. What I normally do is at the end of the year, I'll go back and I'll research what some of the most highly regarded indie games are, and then I'll play them. Adding to that, I decided to review them as well. So the first one to review is Neon White. I never know what to expect from indie games, I'll be honest. Sometimes I feel they're a bit too indie for my personal taste and end up just falling asleep to them, while other times they absolutely stun me with their genius. And Neon White definitely falls into the latter category. Neon White scratches every itch I would want from a video game that is a first-person shooter. It is fast, aim-based, it is timing-based, it has a story that starts poorly but actually develops into something completely passable and actually somewhat enjoyable by the end. Its tight focus on shooting mechanics and speed are so well refined that there's not one point during my completion of this game that I just wish the game would end. Sometimes I get that with games, especially some games where they pad out content. I often just wish I could just get to the meat of the game rather than all the filler. Neon White is all killer, no filler. I mean, it is a game about killing demons, ironically, therefore there is a no filler. It is adrenaline fuel, just inject it in my veins, quite simply. What a freaking unreal level. So good. Oh, I was blown away by Neon White, and I highly recommend it if you have even a slight interest in FPS games that are movement based, that push you to aim and shoot quickly as well as move quickly. Neon White nails all of those components. If you're looking for anything like that, like if you love Doom Eternal, for example, and you also love speedrunning or the idea of people speedrunning stuff, this is the game for you. At 20 quid on Steam, you'd be insane to miss it. It's very good, bordering on superb. Look, the visuals aren't groundbreaking. They're stylish though. They're fun. It's like a graphic novel style presentation. The storytelling isn't groundbreaking. In fact, early on, the storytelling was a bit cheap and a bit like it was pretty obvious what they were trying to do. It was overly sexualized. I kind of found myself rolling my eyes at some of the lines and the quips early on, but actually the story develops into an interesting kind of debate on sinning and what it means to have a place in heaven. It's not deep or anything, but you know, it's definitely better than what the early indicators showed on the story. But what it is, and again, gameplay is the core of any game. You can have a game that is absolutely mind-blowing visually, but have poor gameplay. I don't know, Callisto Protocol. It doesn't matter how good it looks because it's annoying to play. Neon White is you know, stylishly it's cool. It's very, you know, indie. But the gameplay is AAA, man. Let me tell you, the gameplay is sensationally good. Excellent game. Go play it. Go buy it. 20 quid. Support devs that put love and effort into every centimeter, every inch of the map and the levels they design, the games they design. Every level on this game is like a well-tuned Formula 1 track with every bit of time and milliseconds that you can shave off corners, taken into consideration in tandem with the gameplay. I have nothing but great things to say. I can't actually think of a negative about Neon White. There's not one moment where the game annoyed me. There's not one moment where I thought that was lazy, that was lazy design, that was lazy implementation, that was just thrown in for the sake of it. Never once. And that, my friends, is super rare in a modern game. Okay, let's break down individual components, get into a bit more detail, and yeah, that's it really on Neon White. Like, subscribe, and let's get into it. Because visually the game isn't, you know, mind-blowing, don't expect AAA quality, but it's stylish. I have one small gripe, I guess, is that the levels do look a bit samey a lot of the time. About halfway through the game, there's a change up in the kind of textures and the environment you're in, and it's pretty telling that it's a big jump. You notice it. It's because a lot of the levels are very similarly designed in terms of looks, but when they're not similarly designed in terms of its layout. Every map here, the layout has been clearly thought about, pored over inch by inch, corner by corner, level by level. They've really painstakingly thought about everything in these maps. It's a joy to play. You really respect the attention to detail they've given every corner of their maps. It's obviously a bit of a passion project for the developers, and you can tell. You can tell in the design of the levels, you can tell in the design of the abilities, the placement of the enemies. All of that stuff is done with such precision, with such intentionality. Can't help but sit back and I want to heap praise on them, which is basically what I'm doing. One important thing I forgot to mention, actually, and when I was editing this review, I kind of realized, I was like, oh my god, I didn't mention the soundtrack. The soundtrack is unreal, man. Oh my god, it is the perfect soundtrack to the speed of this game. It's EDM, it's high BPM, it's I don't know if you know your music, but if you like Bicep, if you like Caribou, if you like anyone along those lines, you will love this soundtrack. And the soundtrack really acts as a catalyst to the gameplay. The gameplay loop is simplified as shoot enemies, use abilities to get through the map quickly, and to get a medal at the end. You'll get either an ace, gold, silver, bronze, a medal. Accumulating a certain amount of medals allows you to progress to the next story mission. Now, the way they tie in bullets, weapon abilities, enemy placement, and map design, the way they tie all those four things together is superb. It is honestly superb. Just small example. You'll get, for example, a pistol. You can shoot a pistol, you got God knows how many bullets in it, or you can right click to use the ability of the pistol, which is to jump. When you use the ability of the pistol, you will lose the weapon. The weapon will disintegrate. So you have consistent choices to make on which enemies to kill, how to kill them, and when to use the ability to traverse the map quicker. Every time you kind of get used to using one gun, they give you a new weapon, they give you a new map layout, they give you new enemies, they give you new obstacles to use in the level to your advantage, or some that work against you to your disadvantage, and you start again on the next level. And then once you do that, there's another new weapon coming, another new obstacle, another new enemy, and it's just all, and they basically add these building blocks to the levels on every single mission. There's 12 missions, and each mission has roughly 5 to 10 submissions in them, each adding a new technical skill you have to kind of get good at, or a weapon, or adding various bits and bobs. And by the end, you end up with just an absolute gauntlet of fast-paced FPS heaven. No pun intended. And you know what? It's exhilarating. Getting through a level, finishing it, and then just seeing your medal pop up at the end, knowing you've just beaten your time, knowing you've just shaved a second, half a second off your previous time. You've just been quicker on your shots, you've been quicker on your skill shot, quicker on your movements. You've cut a corner here, you've not jumped here, instead you've kind of fallen down to save you a bit of time on the slow kind of floating speed you have, which is quite slow. And that's something you have to factor in as well. You have to factor in the fact that certain things your character does are a bit slower, but sometimes you will have to lose time somewhere else to gain time somewhere else to use an ability there. And it's that constant tinkering, that constant toing and throwing, that constant taking a bit of time off here to save time there, that is the core of Neon White. And if you love that stuff, if you love the thought of flicking there to shooting an enemy, to quickly switching to a weapon and aiming to your bottom left, then right clicking to activate a jump ability that jumps you through a window, then changing to another weapon to shoot a grenade that your grenade bounce off through another window. I mean, that is Neon White in a nutshell, man. And if you love that stuff, this is the game for you. If I was to sum up the story, I'd say it was stupid but charming. It starts off stupid and goes into charming and somewhat thought-provoking by the end. The characters are lovable, some more so than others, but generally the characters are really, really good. The voice acting is done by a voice I definitely recognise from a variety of dubs I've heard over the time on Toonami or Crunchyroll out somewhere. But I definitely feel like the voice actor is famous. I should have researched his name, but I didn't. I mean, overall, look, Neon White is an indie game that has AAA gameplay. It's a magnificent take on the FPS genre, on the speedrunning genre. It has complex and thrilling levels that are superbly designed, and it has shooting mechanics that will satisfy those with an itchy trigger finger. It forces you to think and analyze your gameplay consistently. It forces you to improve and better yourself without feeling annoying or repetitive. And every time you make a mistake, the mistake isn't on the game, it's on you. And that is just so apparent in this game. And I think that's brilliant design by the developers, because so often when you play a game that does require you to repeat levels, such as roguelikes or anything like that, sometimes you do feel like it's the game that cost you your run, not you. That isn't the case here. Here, this is all on you, man. It is all on you. Neon White is aesthetically pleasing, stylishly pleasing. Shooting-wise, it's a joy. I have nothing bad to say about this game. As I said at the start, normally I play an indie game, and by the end I'm like, oh, this is just, overrated. This is like giving praise. Sometimes I feel like indie games are given praise because they're indie games. If you want to give a game more credit because a small studio made it, that's fine. I tend to not do that. I tend to just treat all games the same. But in that respect as well, I am treating this the same as I treat a AAA game, and it holds up. In fact, it's better than most of them. And that's my quick review of Neon White. Man, if you're looking for an indie game to play from 2022, one of the best. There's a reason it's in every Game of the Year list that I've seen. Normally, I play indie games that are on Game of the Year lists, and some of them are not for me, and that's because everyone has their own tastes in games. Some indie games which are just walls of text and reading, they ain't for me. Indie games that require bunny hopping and railgun shooting and rocket jumping everywhere, that's definitely more my jam. So yeah, that's that. Thank you. Like, subscribe, yada yada. Next game I'm playing, talking of first-person shooters, is Proteus, another game that was in a lot of end-of-year lists. Think original Doom, like 1996 Doom, but in a modern setting, and that's what I'm going to be reviewing next. Also, I did pick up a Switch OLED over Christmas, and I will be reviewing Super Mario Odyssey, as well as a few Switch games from the past. I missed a lot of Switch games. I played Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, sadly, which I now regret. But yeah, I picked up a Switch OLED. Super Mario Odyssey, I'm pretty much like 80% through it. Be reviewing that very soon as well as Dead Space Remake, which is out in 3 days. Alright guys, take care. Thanks for watching.